welcome to the first double-billed episode of the No Script Show, because the only thing better than one bill is two bills. I'm joined by my co-host, Wotan, and you can find us on noscriptshow.com. Sorry, co-host, I think I screwed that up, but we're carrying on. So if you listened to our episode yesterday, we mentioned that we're going to be doing this because so much has happened in the last week that it's actually insane. We need more time to talk through it. In this one, I'll be relying on you, Odin, to bring the fire, because I know that there's a lot of it.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
So where do you want to start?
The fact that we're still living in a Donald Trump fever dream.
That has not changed since yesterday. That is correct.
No, I mean, okay. For example, apparently the glaciers are unmelting.
What? No. What?
Okay. Before people like jump on this and they're like, climate change denier, you evil climate. Okay, let me clarify a few facts first.
Yes.
I'm going to speak for myself when I say this. I won't speak for you, Logan. You can speak for it as well. I 100% believe that climate change is a thing. I 100% can believe that it is an issue worthy of discussion and consideration on all levels, government, private, everything. I 100% believe that human beings have some part to play in it.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I do not support is the insane notion that we are the sole factors for it. The insane notion that the science is settled, because objective reality proves that otherwise. And I absolutely hate the scientific community's perception that if you slightly question science or the numbers or whatever, then you're just a denier. Because it's ridiculous.
In fairness, that's not so much the science community as the scientist cult, because there's a big difference between being a scientist and then just using what you think scientists say as a battering ram to get your point across.
Exactly. I would know. I go to scientific conferences. I know. Stuff gets questioned all the time, guys.
That's the point. If your argument is 95% of people agree, therefore it's the truth. What? Have you heard of Galileo? Come on.
People agreed the world was flat. 95% of people agreed that the sun orbited the Earth. Guys, the consensus is not what science actually works on.
Yeah, and you don't even need the consensus because all the evidence is there. So the fact that they do this whole 95% of scientists agree, that's not an argument. And look, from my point of view, same deal. I'm also yes, for the last 100 years, we've dropped bombs and released greenhouse gases into a very thin atmosphere. Of course, we've affected it. This is not even a debate. My issue with it is that politicians use this issue to force through their favorite green energy companies and shit. So it's we have to save the climate now. We're all going to be dead in 20 years. Oh my God, it's absolute crisis.
We're all going to be dead in 10 years for the last 30 years.
Maybe we did actually die 20 years ago, and this is just a fever dream. Maybe that actually did happen. My favorite one is that the UN releases a report, and it says something like, rising tide will force climate migration, climate refugees, that's the word that they use. And it's people will be displaced from their cities as tide levels, as the sea tide rises. And you read that as a layman, and you go, oh shit, it's like a tsunami, all at once there's going to be all this water and we're going to be fleeing. No, it rises over many, many years. You are no more a climate refugee than you are just migrating further into the country because it's a better decision to make. We're talking scales of hundreds of years. And the scientists know this. And if you read it, you understand it. But then the politicians are oh my God, it's like the movie 2012. There's going to be chaos and calamity. You have to vote for me so we can do green energy to fix it. And it's no.
My personal favorite is, two of my personal favorite. Well, okay, three. One thing, guys, my question is, the thing is, don't flay people when they question how much humans affected and how much is just the natural progression of the Earth. We need to consider that.
Yeah.
A large chunk of this is just the last time Mount St. Helens blew its top, or her top, it was it put a hell of a lot more gas and stuff in the atmosphere than humans did in the last 100 years in just 15 minutes. So we need to understand how much of this is the natural progression of the Earth and how much of it is us. We need to understand. Yeah.
No, and that's true. And the thing is, even you don't even need to use the climate, this very confusing, very slow concept, to win the debate, because pollution is a far more tangible thing, and it ties into it. Like,
Exactly.
okay, so you don't think humans cause global warming? Cool. Would you like to live in a landfill where like everything in the ocean is plastic? So, FYI, there are now microplastics in people. We have now gotten to the point where plastics have entered the food chain, and if you've eaten any kind of fish in the last couple of years, chances are there are some filaments of microplastics in your system. Well done, everyone is now part plastic. That's how far we've gone. So to be like, we have to solve this, therefore we have to vote for this unpopular candidate who has no experience in governance, that's just them taking advantage of the issue. There
Yeah.
are problems, for sure.
Never let a crisis go to waste, as they say.
Well, as the DA says, for sure.
I mean, that's the thing. Okay, it's questioning how much of this is us and how much is natural. And the other thing is, people seem to utterly forget that it's not all bad news. I know that it seems like I'm shilling for big oil, but like it changes the environment, but changes the natural state of our planet. It could open up new areas of the planet that were previously closed. It could change has been the reason we as humans are alive right now is partially because we were really good at adapting to change, as do other species. Change is the natural state of our planet, guys.
Yeah.
And this could open up new places. It could create new environments. It's like a patch. Like if you've ever played World of Warcraft, where they do like the Christmas event or the autumn event, it's a patch. It changes things in a way. Again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything about it. I'm not saying we should just ignore it. But we need better suggestions than suggestions like let's live like it's 1762. It's
and that's the
quantifiably
thing,
insane.
So I've seen a bunch of debates around this, and it's usually like there's the people who have the reasonable position, which is that science and technology created this problem, and at the moment the only way it's going to go away is with more innovation. We need more tools and better ways to deal with this stuff. And then the kind of environmentalist movement is like, we need to depopulate the earth by 90% and reduce our energy consumption, otherwise the planet dies. It's like, hold the fuck up.
Well,
like, do you care that humans live? Like, let's just start with this point. Like, people are not going to, this isn't Thanos, this isn't a Marvel fever dream. Like, there are human beings out there who have a right to life. You can't just decide that, we should cap the population at a certain level, or, I'm just like, hold the fuck up, dude. No, that was a serious suggestion. Like, birth control for everyone in the long term to force down population numbers because it's unsustainable. And I'm like, okay, everything is unsustainable until you develop new resources. That's how it works. So, like, I just, on a global scale, it's like, there are people that read these reports through a panic filter and then go, oh my God, this is a huge issue, which they're correct on just for the wrong reasons. And then it's like, we have to support this green energy program, and then it delivers some results, but not many. And it's like, how about we just...
Well, the Green New Deal. I mean, I hate to go full Ayn Rand on you guys, but part of the big part of her objectivist philosophy, and in books like The Fountainhead, and more specifically in Atlas Shrugged, are themes of technological progression makes more resources available. Innovation and technological progression makes more resources available, or enables us to get more out of the limited resources. We could not support our current population with the technology we had 100 years ago. But guess what? We got really fucking innovative. I mean, it's ironic to me, because the people who support this sort of depopulation sort of philosophy are following pretty much Malthusian economics by a guy named Thomas Malthus. I believe he was an Englishman. His policy got really popular during the Irish potato famine. And his central philosophy is things like famine and lack of resources are nature's way, God and nature's way of culling the population. I'm like, funny how you, the left, who are so secular, believe in a conservative Englishman's philosophy that it's just culling the population. But
and it's the thing that it comes back to for me is that we do live in a time that is unlike any other in history. We are taking in crazy amounts of information and misinformation every day, and everything is accelerated now. There was this brilliant there was a public works project in Amsterdam, I think back in July 2018. They had to repair a section of the canals because they love their canals, And then what they did is when they dug it up, they found lots and lots of garbage and artifacts in the canal, things that have fallen in over the years. So then they categorized, they cataloged everything and they put it up on a website. And what you can do is you can actually explore a timeline of all the stuff that fell into that canal over time. And I think I'm on the site now, like it goes all the way back, like they've dated things as far back as 1425. So we're talking like 500-600 years. And you can scroll through this and you can see how technology developed, which is the part that is mind-blowing. 1425, it's like clay pots and basic iron things. And then towards the 16 and 1700s, there's more elaborate china and buckles. And then like the 90s happens and plastic comes in. And oh my God, all of a sudden there's all this new stuff. If you actually look around you, damn near everything you use every day in some measure involves plastic. Yeah. And plastic isn't just one thing. There's many different forms of plastic, many different types of the chain, the molecular chains, the different kinds of substances.
Exactly.
And it's like, I'm pretty sure we can create a substance that is as good as plastic and safely biodegradable, and that could replace a lot of the stuff we do. And we will get there. But to now say, let's pull the brakes on all industry and just kind of fall back to this, like you said, living like the 1700s. If you want to know what that looks like, you can go to this website and you can scroll to 1700 and you can see what they had.
Well, I think one of the most damning things was, I can't remember the dude's name, but he's a former head of Greenpeace, and he left because he said it got too radical. And after AOC put forth her whole Green New Deal, he fucking filleted her alive. He's like, you're a moron. What you're proposing would require us to burn incredible amounts of wood just to heat people. Like he's like, he just outlines like the food, and he's like, you haven't quantified how we're going to feed people. You haven't quantified it. And this is a former head of Greenpeace who left because it got too radical. Like it's amazing.
I saw him like one of the arguments that he had, which I heard it and I thought, you got a point. Was to do with carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And this is like another one of those where not all carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is at our ground level. There is a whole bunch further up, and that's actually the problem. But a lot of people talk about CO2 emissions at ground level, and he just reminded us of the fact that plants eat it. If you have more CO2, you have more plants, because plants eat it. They literally use that to grow. So if anything, CO2 would help reforest an area because there's more food for the plants.
And it started to happen. I mean, look, again, disclaimer, guys, I am a computer scientist, not a bioscientist or anything like that. But carbon is basically the slut of the universe. It binds to everything, and we need a lot of carbon to make a lot of plants to
I think
eat and feed.
No, it's just in light of yesterday's episode, carbon is more like the Taylor Swift stalker of the universe.
3 adult men stalked Taylor. Just think about that. Stalked Taylor Swift, the person whose life is built on stalkerish, shitty relationships. So you just took her to a whole new level. So if Taylor Swift is the ANC, then these guys are the EFF.
If there was ever an argument for depopulating the planet, I think Taylor Swift and everyone in her orbit would make that argument for us.
Low-key, I'd still hit it, though.
But anyway, so just on this climate thing, I mean, the whole point is that there's all these doom and gloom projections, but change can ripple out in unexpected ways. So coming back to the glacier growing, that's where we started. And I looked it up while we were talking, and yes, there's an article in...
Again, it's there's a lot of caveats around it, guys. Yeah. Just so you know, we're not saying, global warming or climate change is over. Remember, things like, I'm speaking from a purely mathematical standpoint now, because that's my background. Again, the more factors you have in a model, the more complex it is, the more difficult it is to predict or produce sort of deterministic results with any kind of degree approaching accuracy. So yes, climate change is happening. Yes, there will be mistakes, but that's also the reason why we don't need to panic so hard. While we should worry, we also need to not panic so hard, because some of the more doom and gloom predictions, as you can see, could very well be wrong. We need to really just calm down.
So I'm just looking at that. There's essentially the main ice... Hang on, I've got the National Geographic site up here somewhere. But basically it boils down to The glacier has gained a whole bunch of ice, but but there was a downside to that. It didn't mean that anything was good. Um, Basically, this is the one prediction they did get right, is that our climate is dependent on a whole bunch of factors, right? There's the sun and the atmosphere and the storm systems and all the rest, but there's also the oceans and the currents, the temperatures, all the rest. So, for example, there was a movie which it got it exaggerated one bit of science, but it kind of made the point. The Day After Tomorrow, I think it was. And it was this disaster movie where basically this one scientist again is like, guys, if this happens and the temperature of this part of the ocean gets a little bit warmer, it'll change the currents and start an ice age. And then that actually happens to dramatic effect. But also that is the truth. Like the oceans do have an impact on our climate. So the one thing I've gotten right so far is that more extremes are happening. We're getting like colder winters and hotter summers. That is happening, measurably so. So I'm pretty sure there are some idiots who will look at this and go, see, global warming is over. No, no. But also, like you said, it's a sort of thing that happens on scales which are not immediate, that you can plan for. I mean, because for example, there's this meme, this idea that, you've got these people in the US that live in like cities and rivers that constantly get flooded, in typhoon season. And people
Hurricane Alley.
Exactly. And it's like,
Smooth.
and it's like, even, I mean, great respect to the late Robin Williams, but he also kind of ripped into them on this, on one of his specials, like, oh, there must be just like kind of people that like to live there, even though it's so dangerous. And it's like, well, no, it's more complicated. These people actually can't sell their houses because who the fuck would buy them? Like, they're kind of stuck there.
Let me buy a house in Hurricane Alley.
Right. Nobody's going to do that. So, for example, they talk about climate refugees, and what they mean is that people will move away from those cities. Now, think about yourself as like someone in your early 20s about to start a family and buy a house. All you're going to do is you're going to look at this and go, okay, in the next 20 years, it's more likely that buying a house in this part of the world, I will be subject to floods and damage. But if I buy it further inland, I'll be fine. So I'll buy the one further inland because I'll be fine. That right there is climate migration. That just happened. There was no tsunami wave. There was no rain of fire from the sky. Someone just decided to build somewhere else. And there'll be more of that. And eventually, yes, the people that are in these areas will need some kind of assistance once to move somewhere else. And then that's it. Like, for me, it's the panic narrative around it that just gets me, because you don't panic, just plan.
Just plan.
Plan.
Cardi B.
Oh my fuck. Let's talk about Cardi B's plans. This was amazing. Hit us. Enlighten us.
Okay. Cardi B is a rapper. Cardi B is a rapper from New York. She is part Dominican or something. She's a yellowbone. That's a slang word in the black community for a woman who is extremely light-skinned, who looks almost yellow. I think anyone who's met me, I'm basically a yellowbone. If you meet me in reality, you'll see how light-skinned I am. Right. So yeah, she recently provided Twitter with her advanced planning techniques for wealth generation. That is to say, she tweeted about a couple of years ago when she was really struggling in New York. FYI, both Wogan and I have spent extreme amounts of time in the United States. These people are like, I had to hustle crime to survive bullshit. There are so many, the United States has the highest income mobility of any country in the world. It really does. It's ridiculous how easy it is to make money in that.
Just on that point, I will say this. One of my trips to the US, I was on site at a company in an area of the States. I don't want to give too much away because otherwise I get shit for it. But in an area of the States that's taking on Silicon Valley, they want to be a new tech hub. And I sat in a room in the intake training for this advanced cloud-based analytics tool. And the guy next to me was training to be a customer support engineer, and his prior job was construction. He went from bricklaying to supporting IT.
Learn to code, I guess.
Yes, learn to code, but also he was educated enough in school to be able to just do that.
Oh yeah, okay, look, the public school system is fucked in many ways, but their school system in the United States gives you opportunities that are out of this damn world. It's
I just,
ridiculous.
it,
That's
yeah.
why I personally get pissed off when people in the Bronx like, or people in Harlem like, man, we living in slums and stuff, or even in like rural Louisiana, you know, yeah, you have low level ADSL and indoor plumbing. Go to fucking Alex. Go to fucking Alex. Go to
I
Soweto
know.
Hood.
I saw.
Go to Soweto.
I.
Seriously, go there. Go there. There are open fucking sewer lines. I know. I know people who live there. Go to fucking Oskral. I've driven through there. A family.
I just.
I experienced this, guys. Seriously,
What?
there are open fucking sewer lines where kids are playing.
So
Don't
what?
talk
What?
to me
What?
about how bad you have it in the hood because you have low level fucking AEDSL or ICN or what the fuck off. You have indoor. I'm sorry. Yes, gang violence is a thing. Shootings are a thing. But go there. Go there. Serious. It's
I.
unbelievable.
I
Your,
know.
your kids get free lunches at school. Yes, the teachers are terrible, but your kids get free lunches at school. Get you're ridiculous. No, you don't need to fucking rob you.
I just. I.
It's the curse of plenty. In
It
that they
is.
have it so good that they still shit it up for you. But anyway, back to
No,
Cardi B.
but anyway, no, just last point on that, and then back to Cardi B. Just because I really think we need to hammer this, because again, America is not South Africa. So there's a show starring William H. Macy called Shameless. It's a great show. I
Yes.
love every bit of it. He's like this unrepentant drunk.
Also, fuck William H. Macy for buying his kid into school.
Also that.
We'll
So
get to that.
you got some salt there, which is fine. But
Mm.
anyway, so he plays Frank something, and like he's like the deadbeat
Frank, yeah.
dad of like this family, and there's like 3 or 4 kids in it, and they live in this like rough area, and they're sort of, you know, are struggling to get past. And there was this very left-leaning journalist who wrote about how Shameless was the most accurate portrayal of poverty in America that he had ever seen. Now, Shameless, these people live in a house with electricity, internet, indoor plumbing. They have appliances. They have far more clothes than they need. They live in an area that is actually not ridden with crime. It's like you look at that and you go, it's a family that's struggling, but I have seen actual poverty, and this is not it.
Yeah,
It just
they've
isn't.
got school. I mean, look, I've never been to the heartland of the US, like Kansas or something, but most of the eastern seaboard and sort of like the Great Lakes area, cities there, you have freaking school buses and stuff. Put your kid on the school bus, freaking school lunch program. What? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. People
Yeah.
would kill for these opportunities in Africa.
It's kind of why I think everyone in the world, regardless of where they come from, should start life in Africa and then work their way up to the US, because that's the only way you actually appreciate how much you have as
Yeah,
the typical
I
American.
agree with that. I agree with that.
So let's
Level
talk.
up to the US server.
So let's talk about how Cardi B drugs and rapes people, because I feel
Yeah,
like that's
so Cardi B, this is our ridiculous news segment. There's 1 or 2 subjects here. The first one is Cardi B recently tweeted about how to make herself survive through the hard parts of life, she had to entice men with sexual, shall we say, invitations,
Yep.
invite them back to, shall we say, hotel rooms, and put, shall we say, certain narcotics in their drinks
Yep.
to render them, shall we say, unconscious, and then, shall we say, relieve them of their valuables and leave. Now, gang, I'm old enough to remember when you admit a crime on social media, that's a bad thing to do.
yes.
And God help you if you switch the genders of this around. Just FYI.
Oh yeah, no, dude. Like, if you were a man luring women to a hotel room, drugging them, and then stealing their shit, you'd be executed. Like, no.
I said this. I actually said this the other day. I was out the other day at one of my local drinking holes in Pretoria, and like a girl said to my mate Charlie, she said she offered him a drink, and she said something to the effect of, just remember it's a bit strong because I've spiked it. And I know she was being tongue in cheek. I know she was being tongue in cheek, guys. I know it was playful and
Wow.
flirting and whatever. But imagine the genders were reversed. Just for a fraction of a second, imagine the genders were reversed.
Oh my god. I can't even deal with that. But that's the thing. I mean, it's like like you said, it's cool now. Basically, if you're a certain race and a certain gender, then it's cool to like, kind of do whatever the fuck you want, and you'll get support for it. So, I guess that's where we are now. And on a related note, I think it is hilarious and incredibly pathetic that J.K. Rowling keeps retconning her own characters to suddenly be gay out of nowhere.
Oh,
I'm like, you know what?
oh.
I read the first 3 Harry Potter books. I thought they were well written, but kind of mediocre and repetitive a little bit. But a lot of kids enjoyed them. And it's like, you did a good thing. You wrote a bunch of books that kids really enjoyed, and you got a bunch of movies. Okay, cool. Move on. Fucking move on. Just move on. And she did.
You know how I knew it was shitty wish fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Is towards the end where, or one of the, was it the fourth one where Harry had to choose between Cho Chang and what is it, Ron's sister, Ginny.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you choosing the ginger over the smoking hot Asian girl. Yeah, I think you're projecting a little bit, JK. There are only two girls you choose every time.
Yeah.
The smoking hot Asian or the Eastern Seaboard blonde American girl. One of those two. Or the Californian blonde American girl. One of those 3.
Yeah. The whole thing is just sad. It's like, I don't know. She's like the woman who went on welfare to write a story that became enormously successful, and now she's like a cultural icon. And I'm like, that's amazing. Now move on to the next thing. Don't get stuck here. And it's like just constantly, everyone's gay now. Like, you're not. We had the discussion: are you born gay? Are you made gay? No, you're gay when J.K. Rowling decides you're gay. Like, you don't have any control.
And black and everything. I'm just like,
because there was the one point where she actually tweeted, because the whole Black Hermione thing happened, and it's like, well, I never said she was white, and then someone tweeted back a screen cap from an actual book, Hermione's white skin. Okay, like, right there, like, dude, just, it's fine. And the thing that blows me, she doesn't even need to do this. She doesn't have to win anyone's approval. She's not.
She was already loved by the social justice. Right. I mean, people were using Harry Potter. People were comparing Donald Trump to Voldemort. She was already fucking loved by the social justice.
And she's incredibly wealthy. She's got nothing to prove. I just like it doesn't.
Just quietly enjoy your life. Just quietly enjoy your life. Don't
be like Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman has also written a huge amount of books, become very successful. He doesn't get on Twitter and retcon his characters to be in with the SJW crowd. He just does his work. Like, I'm not even. I don't know, dude. What is happening to the world? I don't know. So that was the one crazy news thing, the Cardi B thing. What was the other one?
Do you want to work for the DEA?
The DEA.
Yeah, the DEA. Yeah, they are willing to offer. Looking for a contractor to burn thousands of pounds of confiscated weed for them for a few $1,000s an hour. Really, DEA? You're struggling to find people willing to burn weed for you for thousands of dollars per hour. Let's dissect that for a second.
Okay. So first of all, I know lots of people that would happily burn it for free, one joint at a time. Let's just get that out the way. So hold on, like, they're actually trying to find someone to do this.
Yeah, I actually retweeted it. It's just it's incomprehensible to me. I'm like, okay, so you want to burn? I mean, I retweeted somebody's tweet about this the other day.
Dude, I love this quote. One of the requirements that the DEA has listed is the ability for the contractor to burn at least 1,000 pounds of marijuana per hour. And I'm like, just call Snoop Dogg. This is not even a contest.
Just call Snoop Dogg, yes.
Like, he will take care of that shit for a minimum of 8 consecutive hours per day. Have you met Snoop Dogg?
Have you met Snoop? Yeah,
this is not even a challenge.
An account on Twitter that said it's not really doxing them, but it's at Geordie Lancaster said, or maybe end the pointless war on drugs, legalize marijuana, and give it to thousands of cancer patients that can use it to treat pain. Oh, and release all the non-violent drug offenders while we're at it. Thank you, Geordie Lancaster. Yeah. My point exactly. Also, Snoop Dogg, hit him up.
Just he. Yeah, I love that. That's just that. This is amazing. So, I don't know if a lot of people watch it. I quite enjoy it, and this is another cure for the Americanizing beam. Is a show called Trailer Park Boys on Netflix. Um, it's one of my favorite shows because it's these kind of these three kind of essentially bottom of the rung, poor, uneducated, living in poverty in Canada, which by the way means trailer parks and electricity, but okay.
Yeah.
And it's like
Again, guys, very different definition of.
very different. And so like
of
their whole thing is weed, and like there's like 9 seasons of it. And every season they end up going to jail for a couple months, and it's like I enjoy that specifically for all the weed references. And just kind of how far into these dumb plans they get. And it just kind of escalates every episode. And it's pretty amazing. And I look at that and I go, this is probably closer to the truth on what weed actually is. If you took the war on drugs out of the equation and you kind of stripped the Mexican cartels of their power, this is what it would look like. A bunch of people with literally no other prospects doing the one thing that anyone can do, grow a plant. Like, I don't even know why this is an issue. Like, seriously. And I don't smoke weed. I'm not even on this shit. I just think it's ridiculous that we're here.
Well, fever dream, bruh.
But isn't it like the Constitutional Court ruled that what was that ruling that happened last year? And Parliament has 2 years to make a new law.
Personal, it's decriminalized or something that actually, you know what, Roman, how about you guest star on our show and you sort out this Roman Kavanagh, you alt-right darling, you. How about you guest star on our show and sort out this legal stuff for us? But basically, as far as I understand, it's decriminalized for personal use in carrying and growing.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Concord ruled that those laws were illegal, and so Parliament has to make new laws, which is like, it's not technically legal, but it's in spirit, it's legal. Like, if they try to prosecute you now, there's precedent from the Constitutional Court, something like that.
And for our American friends, that means because we don't have a federalist government, that means when the Concord rules something, it applies to every single one of our let's say 10 provinces, because Lesotho's basic. Let's say 11, because Lesotho and Swaziland are basically provinces of South Africa.
Yeah, they are.
It applies to them. Although technically the weed ban does apply to each state in the US, but yeah, you roll up into California and you roll up into Colorado with federal armed law and say, screw you. It's not going to happen. They're not going to enforce it. So it's like, okay, fine.
Oh, man. Burn 1,000 pounds per hour.
Are we going to mildly discuss tech at any point? Just briefly before we get into the harder things of life.
So, well, there is actually one or two things. Just in the last couple of weeks, Facebook has started making a bunch of noises towards being a more privacy-focused network, which is like... I know, that was my reaction as well. I know. I saw that. The thing is...
Oh, you funny guy. Funny guy.
I saw it come and go, and I'm like, okay...
Oh, good one, bro.
But it's essentially like they're just I don't think they're actually serious about it. They're just kind of making noises. But I think they kind of recognize that maybe all this public shit is not great. So I don't know what it means. I just thought it was really hilarious that Facebook, whose only business model is selling access to people's eyeballs, would contemplate going private, because private is like Signal. And maybe even like Telegram groups, maybe, like, even though that's not perfectly secure. Facebook and privacy are like the biggest oxymoron. So that was the one thing. And then the next thing, which is like more of this kind of shiny, cool future dystopia tech, which uproots everything, is the fact that Apple launched a credit card. Which is weird. But then you look into the details and it's actually pretty clever what they've done. Essentially, your phone is now a machine that can issue virtual credit card numbers. Like, that's what they're doing. So there's actually an Apple card, and I love it. The design of the card is basically like...
I didn't know about that. Yeah, that's cool.
It was the weirdest thing that Apple's ever done. But the design of the card is like this metallic finish, and it has like an abstract MasterCard logo, so just like the two circles. No names, no numbers, no nothing. because the numbers are stored on the card. The CVV code can rotate. They've got a bunch of really cool shit that
Oh,
boils
wow.
up to the most secure way to have a credit card. And I looked at that and I went, A, that's pretty cool. B, why the fuck didn't the banks think of this first? Like, why is it a consumer tech company who's like, we're going to take credit card payments and we're going to make them as secure as the Apple platform itself? That's actually pretty cool. The other thing they're doing is all the transaction history that you accrue through your card lives entirely on your phone. So obviously the merchant has to process your transactions, so there's stuff there. Mm-hmm. But your statements and your analysis of your spending and all the stuff, just like the neural network chip for the photos, runs on your phone. So your phone is now kind of like, it's got this new feature where it can also manage your money to a bigger extent than it could before. And it's like, it's a bit weird. In a sense, it's weird that Apple is doing this, but also it seems like we're relying on these companies now to start providing all these services to us. So it's probably going to work. People are probably going to take it up, and it's probably going to work.
Blade Runner, here we come. Yes!
We're one step closer to that, so there is that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and other than that, like, in terms of big tech, I haven't... The only other big tech news... Yeah?
Mm-hmm. I do have one
go for
computer tech news and one physics tech news.
Do it. Go for your computer one.
Okay. Computer tech, guys. Okay, so I've seen this brought up, I don't know, in your circles, but there is the concept of quantum computing coming up more and more often.
Well, it is and it isn't simultaneously, much like quantum computing itself, but yes.
The biggest thing I just wanted to mention, because this is something that personally annoys me, is the concept of security in a quantum computing world. That is to say, our most secure key bit links could easily be cracked by quantum computers, right? Let me set this out for you guys, and because it came up at a community of interesting that I attended recently. Yes, technically, yes, quantum computers could absolutely beast on our latest, most secure computer key linked 512-bit, whatever, AES, whatever, doesn't matter. Quantum computing could beast on it. It's like, it would be like putting Captain Marvel up against I don't know, Century or something. Like, he would splatter the walls with it, or against, like, I don't know, the one above all in Marvel against Captain Marvel, splatter her feminist ass. Anyway,
are you still salty about this?
No, it's just stupid. Like, Captain Marvel's just... Oh, sorry, Hyperion against Captain Marvel. Hyperion would beast Captain Marvel. But we'll get into that at a later point someday. The point is, yes, technically yes, the most advanced security we have would be beasted upon by quantum computing. Because, to put it in simple terms, guys, our security right now, our whole model of encryption is based upon big number theory. That is to say, the number search space for this key is so large that statistically the chance of you ever guessing it is pretty much zero. Cool. Great. So technically that's true. Why is it that quantum computing could break it? Because the thing about quantum computing is that it is inherently designed to search large number search spaces very quickly. That's what it is. It's great at searching large number spaces, insanely large number spaces, beyond what we can comprehend.
Yeah.
Cool. Does this mean that there's no point in security? No. Just as when we developed when we have like sort of M4A1 carbines and whatever, soldiers still carry combat knives into combat. Why? Because does this mean that there's no point in security? No, it just means that we need to develop a new kind of security. So please, for my sanity's sake, I'm begging you people, don't run into the street saying there's no point in securing our shit anymore. No, it just means that we need to use a different type of security. Yeah. That's all. We need to, instead of, metal breastplates for knives, we need to create, body armor for rifles. Yeah. That's it. That's my... I don't know if you have anything to add on that for that subject.
It's almost like the climate change argument, but for encryption. Like, yes, this exists, but also
still a point.
Don't panic.
The other thing is that's kind of bugging me is there's this whole I don't know, maybe it's podcasts I listen to. There's this whole rise of Nibiru thing again, Planet X
Oh
again.
yeah, let's get all the way into this, dude. I am down. Let's talk about Nibiru.
Okay, let me explain some things to you guys. Okay, so a couple of things. One of the points that I see often brought up is that our specific solar system is unusual in that in many solar systems like ours, you see one planet that's missing from our solar system, which is the super Earth, which is just a large terrestrial planet like ours, just much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in the Nibiru theory are saying if ours doesn't have it, then it must be coming in. Sure, there's possibly a bunch of elliptical things, really elliptical orbit things out beyond what we can discover or have discovered that may be there. However, if it was on any sort of serious collision course or any sort of serious world destroying course, basic physics would apply that it would be one of literally the brightest objects in the night sky. You could see that with your bare eyes coming in. So if it's anywhere within like even 10 years of hitting us,
But
that shit would be as bright as the fucking moon, guys. I won't go into the
but
mathematics of the physics of it, but
no,
please, guys, if you could see
Odin,
it coming,
the
trust me, you'll see it in the eyes,
the
in the
the
sky.
but the faith is enough to distort the laws of physics, Odin.
It's just, like it's good. Okay, fine. I'll look up in the sky. I see nothing. Nothing. You would see this if it was anywhere as close as they say it is. You would see it in the night sky with your damn eyes.
So
I promise you guys. That's how physics works.
yeah. So I just want to look.
Never,
So I want to see the actual theory. There's the Nibiru
never mind
cataclysm.
telescopes. You would see it with your bare fucking eyes in the night sky. It's just.
So I'm looking. I'm just quickly googling this because I want
I
to.
mean, this sort of leads into rogue planets,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I guess would be one of my one last mention. If I was like a Kardashev Type 2 civilization, if I wanted to dick us over, I would possibly throw something into our solar system that would gravitationally pull Earth out of its orbit.
Mm-hmm.
Because, okay, guys, you get these things called rogue planets, like Nibiru, that are planets that get ejected, or other objects that get ejected from their solar system by other things, because everything with mass in the universe has gravity. And when things pass, they can pull on each other, and they do pull on each other. And more often than not, it happens a lot. You get rogue planets or rogue asteroids that get pulled out of their orbit. Let's say, like Earth, could get pulled out of its orbit into what we call dark space, where it just gets pulled out. It's no longer within the gravitational influence of our solar system, and it just sits in mid space between solar systems,
Yeah.
between galaxies, and it's sitting there in dark, cold space. It would be a really shitty way to dick us over, but a very advanced civilization could do that, like throw a big ass rock to pull us out of gravity of the sun, and we would basically just drift further away from the sun. Things would get colder and colder, much to certain people's delight, and but they'd also get darker, and then we'd just sit in mid space, just sitting there
Yeah.
until something else gravitationally acts on us, but we'd be all dead.
There's actually, that reminds me, there was a long time ago a short story that actually dealt with exactly that scenario. I can't remember the name now. I'll actually look it up. But it kind of detailed like the survivors of this who kind of all bedded down and tried to, you know, continue even though they've been pulled out of the sun's orbit. So it's an interesting concept, and I love it. So I'm googling this now, and then like on the Sun's website. You know, our favorite UK publisher of absolute bullshit.
Ugh.
The first line in the story, quote, "The end is nigh if some conspiracy theorists are to be believed," which is
Well,
always the headline. That's always the
look,
headline.
you're not required to believe me, guys.
No.
I just, my entire field is just mathematics and physics and computer science, but you're not required to believe me because, as Insane Clown Posse tells us, don't believe the scientists lying and clowning and all shit. So you're not required to believe me, but that's just my 2 cents. I needed to vent that, like, just...
No, that's fine. We're more likely to kill ourselves than each other than like have a huge planet precisely aimed at us to dick us over. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god. Although it's kind of heartwarming to know there's still people out there that are on this insane bullshit. Because I mean, even like when I was growing up, there was these wild conspiracy theories. I love that they're still there. It's like the one constant in a crazy world is the crazy people, right?
I mean, it's so base. Unless maybe NASA's projecting some hologram around the entire planet, so we can't see the big ass bright Nibiru approaching.
Yes, because that's exactly what NASA would spend their limited budget on. Yes, yeah. No, you can definitely hide that in the constantly shrinking amount of money that NASA has to spend.
Well, between that and the secret bunkers for the elites to survive on the planet as we get flung out, but
Bunkers which you have to constantly supply, which you couldn't do because between the sun's gravity not acting on the Earth's core to keep it warm anymore and the lack of sunlight, eventually everything would entropy out into nothing. So bunkers make absolutely no sense, but then neither does anything else. So that's great. We're all good.
Hey, we're all good.
Oh my god. Cool. So then we've got like 15 minutes left, and the last thing I actually want to talk about is the South African elections. So before we do that, do you feel sufficiently decompressed from the events of the last week and a half? Because
I do.
Yeah, there's been a lot of it. My God. So all right, to my shock, I am voting this year. Like that's the first thing to get out the way.
Ooh,
I know.
The Schadenfreude I feel
I know
that you're going to vote.
I know, dude. Lay it on
No
me.
offense, I love you to death, but the
but
Schadenfreude I feel from you admitting that you're gonna vote. That's like,
I know. I deserve it. Lay it on me because the reason I wasn't going to vote was that there wasn't a party that I felt actually made any kind of sense. They all were kind of pulling to the left, even the DA now. I've got their 83-page manifesto. I've started reading through it. And what I love about this is that people are like, the DA is like, we have a plan and a vision for the future. And I'm like, no, you don't.
Okay, we'll see.
Your entire identity is reactionary to the ANC. Right?
I love his thing is South Africans must choose between saving South Africa and saving Eskom. Well, Musi, you need to choose between saving the DA and keeping Pumzile on your team.
Oof.
I'm being serious, bro. So and if you got a problem with it, tweet me, bro. We can fight this out in the streets, fisticuffs and all that.
So in their manifesto, right? I mean, so this is the party that wanted to put, and I'll use their language, clear blue water between themselves and the ANC. That was their whole thing. In their manifesto, literally the first page is like the cover page, and there's a full body shot of Musi because, of course, we need a cult figure. And then there's their first step on how they're going to fix South Africa. And after the very first list of 14 core elements in their economic policy, it goes on to the next page where there's this huge block that says, for context, the ANC is doing this. And I'm like, on page 3 of your actual content, you've just made yourself a reactionary party. You've just said, we're doing this because the ANC is doing this. No. And then the rest, I flipped through the rest, and it's like a whole bunch of garbage. And I'm going to read through it because unfortunately, people seem to think this looks like a plan. It doesn't. It's literally just a laundry list of everything that every ANC delegate said they want, a DA delegate said they wanted in one document. Some of it's contradictory. Their own 14 core elements for economic policy are inherently contradictory already. And like I told you offline, you can tell that this is a document that Gwen Gwenya had no role in drafting. Because if she did, it wouldn't look like this. So... Sorry, just the expression on your face there.
Gwen, girl, like for real, like I know you love your man, the DA, but you need this is a Tyler Perry movie, Gwen, and I hope she hears this, Gwen. This is a Tyler Perry movie, and the DA is the mean, abusive, dark-skinned man, and the purple cow party is the light-skinned, shirtless, poor gardener who loves himself some you and loves himself some Jesus. Move on to the light-skinned man. Done.
I suspect it's more complicated than that. But anyway, so the purple cow party. I saw when they kind of did the whole thing with the 10 plans and the sandwich boards, and I saw them kind of doing a marketing thing, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then they announced as a political party. And it's like, I read their principles, and I just saw that they had people that actually understood those principles, and I was in, like right fucking there, I was in. And a lot of people that have come on
I'm
board,
just mad that they don't have membership cards.
Dude, and this is the crazy thing, right? We've had people join.
Fine. I will pay you, Purple Cow Party, consensually help fund you if you give me a membership card.
That might actually be one of the things that happens. So the short story here is that I basically volunteer to help out on the digital marketing and social media side, and it's like the whole thing about it is that it's a decentralized campaign because it's all volunteers, it's all digital, it's all online. We've had people joining us and asking, "Hi, I'm in this part of the country. I'd like to help. Where's the branch office?" We're just like, "No, dude, it's a Telegram group. That's literally the branch office." Like this whole thing is completely like modern in every sense of the word. It's actually probably the first true internet party, if anything, in South Africa, because everything we're doing is pretty much online in terms of the support. And I keep saying we. I'm not actually a member of the party. Just people have mistaken me for that before. I'm just a very enthusiastic volunteer because this was the first time when I saw it. I was like, "Holy shit! There's these people that are willing to like nail their flags to this mast of a capitalist party in this country." That takes balls, like seriously. So I respect that immediately before you get to anything else. And this is something of a watershed year. This is like 1994 version 2, because we've got the highest number of registered voters since the dawn of democracy. The ISC has confirmed that. We have a growing number of splinter parties and factions. And even the analysts...
MPs got to keep their government cheese, bro.
Oh, they do. And I love...
MP rats got to keep their government cheese.
Exactly. So you've got Jimmy Manyi with his Africa Transformation Movement, ATM. It's just the boldest
brazen, brazen,
vote for ATM
acronym.
So
I love Cloudy's inspirational speech, though.
Oh no, we'll get to the ACM. But the ATM, they actually gained 30% support in some by-election in the last week out of the blue as a brand new party. And I looked at that number and I went, you know what? I feel this. I definitely feel that there's a lot of people that have gotten to the point where they're just so frustrated with the status quo, they'll try anything else. And the whole Purple Car strategy is that, and it's not even a strategy, it's just common sense. There are so many people who either don't want to vote, like me, or who are grudgingly voting for a party just to ward off the other guys. I think there's so much dissatisfaction out there that these guys actually stand a chance of going somewhere. Like Cloudy, and his like my favorite thing was the video circulating on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it as well. He should be a motivational speaker. I'll actually, you know what? I'm going to play the audio of that quickly. Let me just find it. This dude is.
I genuinely hope that all the SABC board meetings were like this, because then it makes the SABC destruction worthwhile.
It almost does. All right, so I'm going to play it on this side. You won't hear it on your side, unfortunately. I'm just going to play like the first 15 or 20 seconds.
Political parties to think about other leaders.
To think about the other leaders.
For you to change your life.
To change your life. Dude, I love this guy. Like, his energy is like amazing.
He's like, if every motivational speaker were merged with the voice of the ETV guy.
But the thing is, so I look at this video, right? And I see someone tweeted it and like dunked on him. It's like, "Oh, Claudia from the SAB, someone should teach you about like lighting and camera work." And I'm like, no, dude, you don't get it. This is how South Africans communicate now. Like badly skewed iPhone videos shot vertically. Like this is how people engage. You know, social media 5 years ago was very different to social media today. And it's like, I think all the mainstream parties haven't really cottoned onto that. You should see how the DA is doing this. It's laughable how they're actually trying to engage online. So I look at this video from ACM and it's like, haha, look at this moron who can't even do a proper video. I'm like, no, dude, what you're looking at there is what the young generation wants to see. So wake up, you know. Nobody is reading an 83-page policy document. Everyone is watching short YouTube videos. That's where we are. So anyway, all of that put together actually motivated me to the point where, yep, I'm up, I'm voting, my registration is in good standing, I'm doing this because, and not only that, I'm helping out where I can to actually explain, advance, and argue the ideas because I believe in these principles. You know, liberty, equality, rule of law, safety, fraternity. Are you fucking kidding?
I'm down for gun freedom, not gun freedom.
You know, gun free SA is a whole different thing. And the thing about it is that these aren't even radical principles. It's literally the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
They might be the most libertarian party out there right now.
Right, I think so. I really do think so.
Funny how they're purple, and the bottom right of the political compass is purple as well.
That is ironic because that wasn't the motivation for choosing purple, but yes.
I'm down for a party that doesn't want to legislate its members' morality to everyone else.
And that's the thing. It's like we've had people like it's difficult for some people to get this. So one of the other things that this party is doing, because we're digital and we're modern, is that there's no policy committee that put the manifesto together and then told it to the members. You can go to forum.capitalist.org.za and you can go and debate the manifesto principles with the people in the party, right? And the public in full public view. And we're doing that because, we're all in South Africa, we're all in this shit together. We've chosen the principles, we're sticking to these, like properly sticking to them. And what's amazing is that people come in there and go, what is your stance on issue X? And like 90% of the answer is that shouldn't be a thing in legislation. If you want to voluntarily form a nudist collective on a beach, you should be able to do that. If you voluntarily want to form any kind of club to practice an alternative lifestyle and you're not harming anyone else, you should be allowed to do that. And then people are going, oh, but you're not making a law that says I can do that. And we're like, no, we're taking away all the laws that could prevent it. And that's a whole different concept, which is like brand fucking new. You don't need laws to tell you how to live. And it's some people, it's like rattling their cages.
But that's the thing. People have been governed by insane levels of laws for so long. They're like, am I allowed to do this? I'm like, free people don't need to ask for permission to do stuff. Like,
and it's like the principles, anyone can get them. Anyone can read them and understand what they mean. And as long as you practice them, it's fine. We don't need legislation that tells us what we can watch. We don't need an FPB to rate these things. People can make their own decisions. That's the whole point. So
my triple X site is my triple X site, guys. Okay.
Do it. No, it's absolutely astonishing. So like in the middle of this, as if to prove the point, the FPB amendment bill is now sitting on President Ramaphosa's desk, and in one signature, it will basically make it illegal to broadcast most kinds of content online without first having it registered and classified with the FPB, something that most people cannot afford to do. It's just like right then and there. And their rationale is that they need to protect the children and protect copyright. And nobody is asking...
It's always about the children.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, also the government is letting kids die in pit toilets. So let's just check how much you actually give a shit, because I don't think you do. And that upsets me. If there's like one thing in this whole scenario that upsets me, it's that. So like the whole save the children argument, dude, no.
No, I don't believe them for a fraction of a fucking second.
No. And I'm like,
what about the children? The children, fuck off. No, you don't care about the children.
Yeah, and it's like, at no point has not in the last 20 years, has the parliament gone, okay, we have this apartheid era censorship organization. Do we really still need it in a free and democratic South Africa? And the answer is no. The answer is no. It's not even a question. But here we are. And so it's like, you know what? Fuck it. The whole trying to legislate our way into success is not working. We can see it's not working. So I'm like, shit, a party with 10 principles, 10 plans that you can openly debate and challenge that aren't going to dismiss you because you have a different idea. Holy shit, I am in. I am so in.
And, props to Roman for, I know a lot of people have criticized him.
Me too.
Criticized him and other members.
Me
and
too.
Like, oh, this. But he very clearly stated, recently, he's like, our plans aren't going to bring about utopia. They're not going to bring about Dubai or the United States of Africa. We've very succinctly said, this is where we're going to start. This is what we're going to solve. We'll move on to everything else afterwards.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's like, that is the sum total of sort of my, I will call it shilling. It's not really, but I'll call it shilling for the Purple Cow Party. Purely just...
I'm still shilling for my whiskey sponsorship.
Yeah, no, definitely. We were doing this. But also just like my closing thought is that if you don't care about politics, if you're apathetic, if you think the whole system is going down, still vote ZSCP for one reason and one reason alone, to get Fumzile Van Dam versus Roman Kabanak in Parliament. You want to see that. we all want to see this. So for no other reason, do that. Because I want to see those.
I want to watch Pumzila eat a gigantic helping of fucking humble pie. You fucking arrogant bitch. You are the embodiment of hubris, and I hate you, not for your skin color, not for your gender, but because of the absolutely reprehensible way you treat anyone and everyone that isn't tongue deep in your fucking colon.
So, just for clarity, that was the black co-host who said that. Anyone who's...
Yeah.
But no, like, I can't use that
Yeah,
same...
I'm about to go full shaft on her ass. Smack a bitch. Like,
So anyway,
I'm kidding, guys. Violence against women is never okay. Or against anyone else. Non-aggression principle.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but the thing is, you are voicing a legitimate frustration. The way she deals with people is costing the DA votes. Like, this isn't even a question anymore. And it's not many votes, and I'm pretty sure that tactically there are more people that support her, and fine. But the DA is no longer the party of Helen Ziller. It is no longer the party of the people that were trying to find the liberal solution to the problem. It is now this. Whatever this is, it is what it is. All of that being said, the last thing I'm going to acknowledge is that Purple Cow is not contesting provincially, because that was one of the criticisms. It's like, oh, you guys have no experience and no branch structures and no infrastructure to run a political party on a national level. It's like, no, you dipshit. You need 10 people in parliament. That's it. Your entire infrastructure is 10 people with their asses in the seats in the room where the parliamentary committees are debating things. That's the whole infrastructure right there. You don't need branch offices. You don't need any of that shit.
Yeah, I'm voting Purple Cow nationally and my personal choice provincially, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And in my case, and I'll say it publicly, my personal choice provincially is still the DA, because despite all the bullshit, they do at least know how to run Microsoft Excel and not give money to their friends. So
Well,
that is the bare minimum
say,
for public governance.
I'll vote DA provincially because of Solomon Msimanga and Herman Mashaba. So yeah, I'm also gonna vote Purple Cow nationally and DA provincially. Yep.
And it's like, but the thing is, the DA is clearing a very low bar for me provincially. Literally, the only thing they're able to do well is follow the rules that everyone else is supposed to be following. To a large extent. If it was
possible, I'd vote Purple Cow nationally and provincially, but yeah, I'll vote them nationally and then DA provincially. Yep. That's me.
Cool. And then that's it. I'm declaring that now just because that's what I'm going to do. Also,
so earmark this. Hopefully we can go back to this in a few months' time and be like, so Pumzile, would you like to come on our show and debate how big of the humble pie you've been eating lately?
I don't even want that. I just want her to acknowledge that her attitude and her public persona is a very difficult thing for the classical
people
DA.
have been saving her tweets. I cannot wait for after May 8th, because I really hope for people to just flood her with their own arrogant tweets.
And this is the thing. It's like
her and Hillary are going to be sitting in the same box. Her and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, right? It's like the
young brown Hillary Clinton. That's who Pumzile is right now.
It's like the DA's whole challenge is they're trying to hold on to this kind of the Western Cape plus grow their votes. But everyone who talks to Pumzile comes away with a bad feeling. And it's like, just don't even have to change the message. Just tone down the attitude. And it's
sorry, she's young brown Hillary Clinton with a dash of Kamala Harris because of her white husband. Never mind her speaking down about white people all the time.
And I don't know. And it's like part of me still thinks maybe this is all an elaborate projection and as part of the strategy, in which case it might well be, and maybe this works out for them and they grow their vote as a result. Hey, I could be wrong. For me personally, I look at that and I go, this is a long shot from the South Africa that Mandela promised we would end up with, and I don't like this at all. Okay, cool. And then just one bit of funny info, because we're kind of out of time. One of the new national parties on the ballot, their abbreviation is DLC. So if you want to be a masochist, you can vote for the DLC party.
The Electronic Arts Party.
There's also an IRC party. So there's if you can either have nostalgia or you
can so I can hit up FBI agents and be age, sex, language, 14, female, horny AF. Let's do this. I'm kidding, man. FBI. Please do not arrest me.
You're not even in America, dude. You'll be fine.
Fam, gotta cover the bases. Gotta cover the bases.
All right, so yeah, that's it for our first ever double bill episode, double barrel, no script show in one weekend. There was so much to get through, and I think like we're probably back on our regular bullshit from now on for the foreseeable future. So
next week we'll do a single next week.
Awesome. All right, peace out. Have a great week.
Stay safe, guys.